Welcome to our video presentation sponsored by the Jesuit Retreat Center of Los Altos. My name is Kevin Leidich and I'm a member of the pastoral staff here at El Retiro. In my previous webcast, I presented the first three strategies that Jesus has given us when facing troubled times. The first, allow Jesus to work for us, to labor for us, to minister to us. The second, follow the example of Jesus and seek to serve others. And the third, live in the Spirit dwelling within us. The fourth strategy is to identify the work and tactics of the evil one. In John 14, verse 30, Jesus states, "The ruler of the world is coming. He has no power over me." In chapter 16, verse 11, "The ruler of the world has been condemned." Have you ever had the experience of scolding a child? If you scold a child, you don't feel good afterwards. But if you refrain from scolding a child, you still don't feel good either. Clearly in this example, we are influenced by forces beyond our control. Not that these forces control us, but that they try to influence us. Ignatius of Loyola noticed the same experience when he was daydreaming and reading the books. When he was daydreaming about civil service, he felt dry, dissatisfied, and empty afterwards. When reading about imitating the saints in Christ, he felt joyful, and this continued, although he initially preferred to choose the alternative. Ignatius felt himself being influenced by forces beyond his control. Where do these forces originate? The force that encourages him towards faith, hope, and love is the influence of the good spirit. The force that entices one away from faith, hope, and love, he calls that the influence of the evil spirit. Forces do not control us, but they influence us, much like the experience of scolding a young child. In times of trouble, we are minded to be vigilant and be courageous in identifying and confronting the enemy of our human nature. That is, knowing how the enemy is prone to attack us. I remember one time I was teaching in Sacramento, and I always taught sophomores, but I had always a class of seniors in Ignatian spirituality. And this class was an elective class. And I remember one time in September, I had this new class of seniors, and September is very warm up in Sacramento. And one of the seniors in there I taught as a sophomore. I knew him very well. He's a very fine student, always very attentive, gets his work done, very cooperative in the classroom, just a wonderful young man. I noticed after a couple days, this young man seemed like he was very somewhat distracted. Something was not quite right. Something was on his mind. So I saw him alone. I asked him, "You look kind of tired," which is kind of a generic way of saying, "What's wrong?" Well, he kind of said, something's on my mind. It bothers me. It haunts me. I can't sleep at night. I try to get rid of it, but it just won't go away. Well, normally I wouldn't ask, well, what is it? Because it's none of my business. But I knew the young man very well and wanted to help him. I asked, well, what is this thing? Well, he said to me, well, next year I'm going off to college. And I'm just afraid I won't get along with my roommate. Now, this is early September. He hasn't applied to college yet. Doesn't know where he's going to study, what he's going to study, his major, how he's going to finance his college career. And yet he's been consumed about something that's way beyond his control. Obviously, he's being influenced by a spirit that is not of God. No matter how hard he tried, the student could not get the worry about his future roommates out of his mind. Again, an example of being influenced by forces beyond our control, yet certainly not from God, because it led to a decrease of love. One certain way of looking at an aspect of discernment is through the insight of the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. describes how the evil spirit may try to influence us and our decisions, and how God works in our lives. The evil spirit is always tempting us to try to change the things we cannot change, the past, the distant future, like the student worried about his roommate, or other people. The result is a sense of frustration, a sense of being stuck, being trapped. That is, an event that happened 30 years ago. Not the Spirit of God, but the results of the evil one. How does a good spirit, the Spirit of God, work in our lives? Certainly learn from our past, certainly, but also giving us the courage to change the things we can, our decisions for love today and for tomorrow, and gives us the wisdom to identify courage and the work of the evil one, trying to trap us, to frustrate us, to distract us. Courage and wisdom, the rest of Serenity Prayer, describes how God labors for us. What are some of the other common tactics of the evil one? Some ideas from spiritual masters over the ages are that these are broad patterns of the evil spirit. The evil spirit always tries to attack our weakness, tries to act secretly, and also acts like a bully. All three tactics illustrated by the example of the student I mentioned before. I encourage you in your prayer, your quiet time and reflection during this Lenten season and these days of the health crisis in our land, to review with the Lord those patterns and tactics by which the enemy, evil spirit, tries to attack you. Whenever you face troubled times, beware that the evil spirit is also at work, trying to rob us of the gift of consolation, trying to distract us from making decisions of greater faith, hope, and love. So I encourage you to reflect on how the evil spirit may try to attack you, to keep you off balance, acting like a bully, or attacking weakness, or acting secretly. Are you aware of the activity of the enemy in your life? Are you open to the Lord gifting you with greater self-knowledge and knowledge of how God and the enemy both influence your decisions in your life? And then lastly, do you have confidence in the victory already won by Jesus over the enemy? Or simply pray with the Serenity Prayer and how it has applied and continues to apply to your life. Thank you very much for listening to our presentation today.